Welcome to Holding Space. Michael Zen is a visual producer and creative photographer using his imaginative visionary energy to channel Zen and hold space for spiritual and innovative discussion. Each episode creates a supportive, accepting, and open environment that allows exploration and expertise to come together with engaging and entertaining convergence. With guest and community all helping the shape of the way, Michael is grateful to be together to hold space. Now here is your host of Holding Space, Michael Zen.
Yes, hello and welcome to Holding Space. It's me, Michael Zinn. You may or may not have heard of me, but Todd Bates just explained a little bit about who I am in the introduction of the show. I love having a professional narrator do the intro. Even though Live Stream of Consciousness, I've got a theme song, which I created with AI, which I really love. I love doing this. I love coming to a space that's created from intention, with intention, and that's really what Holding Space is. And the Live Stream of Consciousness, it's kind of a respite from the hamster wheel of the day-to-day. You know, it's the end of the day. You get to sit down, you get to relax and kind of watch a conversation, listen to a conversation that I personally think is important to be having. You get to meet another piece of the puzzle. We're all pieces of a big puzzle, and we've all got, I think, special little edges to us that fit together, and that's what I like to do. I like to talk about that. I like to bring peace and harmony to the world through this platform, instead of division and discord. So that's what I'm here for. So welcome to Holding Space. It is March 11th. This year is just speeding through. I started the show this year. I think we're on like our 10th or 11th episode. It's pretty crazy. I'm excited about that. Angela, welcome. I see you there. Good things are coming your way, Mr. Zinn. Awesome. Angelo is a avid viewer who is gifted and often tries to read the guests. He's often asking me questions about my guests, like, hey, does this person like the ocean? And he's also often getting messages, which is pretty cool. I love that he's out there, but he's reading my guests, which are usually readers themselves or intuitives or anything like that. Any announcements? I do have an announcement. As a matter of fact, my guest tonight, thank you for reminding me, my guest tonight is a part of the Soul Care Conference, which is something that I joined a committee a couple of months back for. It's happening in April. Let me pop up the flyer for it. The Soul Care Conference is it's a not a full day, but almost a day-long event. A few great speakers are speaking all about different modalities of just connecting to energy, connecting to your mind and your body and your soul. Those are important things that we need to balance, and I think we forget to balance those things often, and that's why I love to get these amazing guests to remind us and give us different tips and ways to do that. So it's April 27th. It's here on Long Island if you are on the East Coast. And my guest tonight is one of the amazing speakers. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. But before I bring on my guest, I've been doing something that I really like, right? And I got this from my friend Brian, who was the first guest on Holding Space, and that is opening up the space, putting us all kind of at the same place of intention, and just to be here in the moment now, which you are. I really appreciate you guys being there. Hello, Mort. Good to see you. And I do that with this pretty cool bowl that I just got recently from my girl, Janice, the Quiet Healer. And I'm just going to ring the bowl. I'm going to open up the space, and I want you guys to just take a deep breath in through your nose while I'm doing it. Kind of count to 4, and then take a deep breath out and count to 4. And we'll just open up the space and hold space together. So here we go. to breathe. I love the Tibetan bowls. I love the vibration. You can still hear it, right? Can you still hear it as I hold it up to the microphone? It's amazing. I don't even want to put it down because I can still feel it vibrating, and that means there's life in it. But I'm going to put it down over here. I love sound. I love vibration. Oh, I hear it ringing here just off of my voice. I'm so fascinated by the advancements that are coming out and the understanding of how frequency works and on a quantum level. And that's really tied to spirituality and the beliefs of everything being one and all of these cool things that I was already into. So it's a great time to be alive. And a great time to welcome my guest to Holding Space. So I'm going to welcome to Holding Space for the night my wonderful guest, Gena Bradshaw Vitale. Welcome, Gena. How you doing?
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing good. I don't know if my bowl is still ringing. Oh my God, it was still ringing here. And I was like, I heard it. Like,
So good. I
ooh.
love that you did that. I was like, I also love sound frequency. It's definitely one of my main tools that I use. It's so good.
Awesome. Awesome. I remember still the first time I heard it, right? The first time somebody did it in my presence, and I was like, where is that sound coming from? I felt like it was coming from inside of me. It was really exciting. And then, that was years and years ago. And then recently, like I said, with new understandings about frequency and sound and how it works on a molecular level, and like, making more sense of like, oh wow, this really makes a lot of sense. As for sound healing becoming, a valid modality, it's very, very cool.
Absolutely. I love it. It was one of the first modalities that actually got me into what I do today and just learning about the science about it. And what science calls it is vibroacoustics. And it was cool and fascinating to learn about, and how, I mean, we are frequency beings. So it's cool how much of a healing modality it truly is.
Absolutely. I remember also, seeing a few years back the cymatics experience with the metal plate and the sand, and that was like again very, very apparent to me. I was like, why is this not more talked
Yeah.
about, right? Because it was very apparent, like, wow, sound is actually having a physical effect on atoms and physical matter, and I just thought that was so amazing. And then I've, of course, dove down some rabbit holes, and I've seen, people actually doing healing on tumors and reducing tumors with sound, and
Yeah.
fighting various conditions with sound. And that's pretty cool. And that's I mean, I don't know if the sound's probably not part of your healing story, or maybe it is. I don't really know. But I do want to talk about your healing story, and I see the quiet healer out there. Welcome, welcome. And I love your story because it's super inspiring. It's a story of comeback and triumph when you're stricken with a dire prognosis, right? And I think that what I love about this story is you often hear people questioning like the existence of God and stuff like that, because, well, then why is there things like cancer, right? If there's God. And I think, in the spiritual community, you're kind of given that answer. Well, that's a situation that you're kind of given in order to respond to it, and it's really, that's your choice how you're going to respond to it. And I love the triumphant stories of how people are diagnosed with a situation, and then they become these incredibly happy people, like happier than they were before, because they're now full of gratitude and a better understanding about life and what it means to be alive. So I can't wait to hear your story. Why don't you tell us where it all started?
Yes. Okay. So I always start with this. There are three avenues that people can go down when you are stricken with adversity, especially some type of like health adversity, near death experience almost. So the first option, people could just continue living the way that they were living prior and just, not evolve. The second is just completely living in fear and just, again, not growing. Or the third, you can alchemize what you went through and
Mhm.
truly become the alchemist of the adversity that you've gone through and
Mhm.
take that and actually use that to bring value to the world. I chose option 3 and I did not originally start there. However, so my journey began at age 3.5. I was diagnosed with leukemia, which is a form of blood cancer, and that was a near death experience and
Oh, wow.
also a long, tough battle. I started to go back to school and acclimate by the time age 6 rolled around. And I always say this because it's kind of ironic that I'm an author today. At one point, when I started going back to school, my teacher said to my mom, your daughter can't really read, so we might need to leave, yeah, hold her back a grade. And my mom's like, nah, she'll be fine. So it's kind of ironic that I write books today.
Yeah.
I grew up in a very holistic family. I would say spiritual in a sense of more the religious aspect of Catholicism,
Mhm.
and it built a foundation. However, I think I had this underlying like subconscious kind of like, which I did. Why me? Like what's the bigger meaning to what I went through? And I was holding a lot of like trauma in my body and anger unknowingly.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so played lots of sports. I'm the oldest of 5.
Mhm.
And later on down the road, I grew up in a like family fitness business, so that health was always number one for me. So that set the foundation,
Mhm. Mhm.
which is pretty cool when we talk about also like your soul choosing your parents. So that set me up for success. And
Mhm.
then later on down the road, I go to school for exercise science. I run track and field collegiately. It was, awesome. And then at age 20, I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer, and
Mhm.
it had me question like what's going on here? How is it possible that I'm eating healthy for the most part? I'm a college student, but
Mhm. Mhm.
making better choices than most. I'm exercising and I'm relatively happy. Like I don't understand what's happening here. And that kind of like really prompted me, forced me to understand like energetics and energy medicine and Eastern medicine and herbs and just
Mhm.
a different way of living that you're absolutely not taught. And yes, I got a touch of that growing up, but it
Mhm.
made me really immerse myself and take a deeper dive. And so, this pivotal moment of when I was choosing a doctor to perform my surgery on the thyroid, and the first doctor said, okay, we're going to take out the whole thyroid, we're going to remove the whole thing. We're going to do radioactive iodine, and then you're going to be on medication for the rest of your life. Mind
Mhm.
you, I was 20 years old. My entire body cringed up. Your intuition in your body never lies. And I'm
Mhm.
so happy I listened to it.
Mhm.
And I literally no thought form came into my mind. I just said like no. It's just
Right.
no, that's not going to happen. He
Right.
had no other protocol, so I went to go see another doctor, and he said, "Listen, we're gonna take out half. It's encapsulated, no radioactive iodine, and if you continue to take care of yourself, you can function on 1/3 of your thyroid and won't need to take medication."
Mhm. Mhm.
So I opted in for that, and I'm thankful that I did because today it'll almost be 12 years
Wow.
and completely cancer free, no medication,
Yeah.
and also expecting my first baby. So
Awesome. Awesome.
that
Awesome.
so that brought me to just my soul's path, I would say, my soul's
Mhm.
mission and purpose. So
That's awesome. Now I wanna go back a little bit, and this is maybe for me because I don't really know in depth. I mean, I know leukemia is a blood cancer, right?
yeah,
That's probably as far as I know, and I know people, when I grew up that were diagnosed, but it wasn't always a fatal thing, right? It was something that could be addressed and lived with. And so you were 3 years old. How did you get rid of the leukemia completely? Like,
Yeah. I've completely in remission. So after those 2 years of going through chemotherapy and being
Mhm.
in and out of the hospital, so by the time I was like probably like 5.5, I was completely cancer free
Wow.
and good to go. Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty young to be going through
Yes.
chemotherapy, I would
Oh
imagine.
yeah.
I mean, that's, your immune system still building up, and wow, that's
It's
crazy.
enough. It was I wrote about this in my first book, A Survivor Story, enough to kill a horse, pretty much.
Wow,
It was
that's crazy.
adult sized chemotherapy that I was going through because this was in 1995.
Right,
So the protocols, the chemotherapy, the treatment was completely different than what it is today.
right.
And so yeah, I mean, I'm there, I whenever I think about like I overcame that, like, I obviously overcame that for a reason, like, there's a why.
Right,
There's a
right,
reason why I'm
right.
still here
Sure,
today.
sure, sure. So then at 5, 6 years old now, you're in remission, and you're like, okay, I'm cancer free, and you live your life until 20 years old, and then suddenly, boom, it's back,
Yeah,
in a different form completely. Wow,
yeah.
that's
Yeah,
pretty
and I
cool.
believe that, because we do talk about, spiritual health and energetics, that was trauma that my body was holding on to that I never addressed. And, it was hard for my family to talk about that because it's very traumatic for them as well. So I stuffed a lot of that down. Also when
The
you go
trauma of the trauma
of
of having
leukemia.
leukemia. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Okay, so
So
okay, that makes sense. Wow, yeah.
so when we connect, right, and we talk about the energetics, we talk about the energy points in the body. If we look at the thyroid, where is that? The throat. That's the throat chakra,
Mhm,
which is
mhm,
an energy point wheel, a wheel of energy. That is speaking my truth, communicating, and I stuffed it down. Like I didn't talk about it. I didn't want to talk about it.
mhm, mhm,
I did
mhm,
a lot, and I still do a lot of nonprofit work.
mhm,
However, at that point in time prior, my parents were really kind of forcing me to do it and doing like speaking events on it.
mhm,
But now I'm willingly speaking about it. So it's
mhm, mhm.
interesting how that all works. But
Right.
energetics definitely played, I believe, a role in that second bout of me going through cancer. And again, this is what I teach people. It's like, let's look at the energetics of disease because that can teach you the medicine, that can show you the
Mhm,
medicine.
mhm,
Cancer really deep down is deep hurt, resentment, sadness that's stuck in the body.
mhm,
And also, it is a repression of your spiritual gifts
mhm,
and something that I wasn't awake to
mhm.
until I started to really acknowledge like these gifts that I had and like my
Yeah.
mediumship and intuitive abilities. And I was like, this is very interesting. Okay. And started to train that and learn about it and then be able to take that and alchemize that and help other
Mhm.
people with that.
Now, not to challenge what you just said, right? Because I love what you just said. Um, but I feel like it's a bit controversial.
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay, because
Definitely.
because people will be diehard like, no, this is a medical thing, this is cells, and this is and there's
And it
obvious,
is.
right, there's obviously an aspect of it that is three-dimensional and physical, but you're attesting to the energetic and the spiritual aspect of it, which again, I think it's important, growing up and being in the spiritual community, we talk about this all the time, the word, how words are dis-ease, right? You're not at ease with something, right? And that's exactly what you're describing. You weren't at ease with having gone through leukemia, and you kind of just wanted to just ignore it, but really found out later that your purpose was, no, you got to tell your story because people need to hear it. There's a healing involved with people receiving that story, right? But I think, and I'm pretty sure by the smile on your face and the way you're nodding, that you also are aware of the healing that you receive through that whole process. Like when
Oh,
people, yeah.
undoubtedly. I mean, It's because here's the thing, when you go through such an adverse time, when it's like near death experience and your life is flashing before your eyes, you're kind of just like, what am I doing? Like, what am I actually meant to do here on earth? And it's, are you going to take action, or are you just going to stand by the wayside? And so I was like, I'm going to go all in and I'm going to explore this. Like, what do I have to lose,
Mhm.
And throughout that process of self discovery and inner work and healing, I have completely transformed my life, my body, my health. I have never felt better in my life. I'm
Mhm.
currently 31 years old. I have
Mhm.
half a thyroid and I've literally never felt better in my life.
Mhm.
And, so when we look at your soul's purpose, that is directly correlated and connected to health. You
Mhm.
literally cannot have one without the other.
Mhm.
And throughout my journey and my own healing, that is part of my discovery and what I'm here to help people with. Let's tap into your soul gifts. Let's
Mhm.
tap into your soul's purpose and help you become fulfilled. Because let's be real, like, ask yourself this question: do you feel fulfilled? And if you don't, how do you feel on a daily basis? You probably don't
Mhm.
feel great.
Mhm. Mhm.
And the
Mhm.
more you ignore that and the more you stuff and repress and you don't have that emotional mastery and intelligence, it's going to cause a problem down the road, and it will show up in a physical
Mhm.
manifestation. That's just what it is.
Mhm. Mhm.
Energy is everything. That is where everything stems from. It is the energetic source, it is the root of everything. And so when we can learn about that, it's no wonder why they don't teach this in school, because imagine if everybody knew this. And I think that's where we're headed. But again, it's going to take some time. And so the more people that wake up to this, the more people can really focus on their own self healing. And
Mhm.
obviously, I talk about setting up your own health team and your own team.
Mhm.
But you'll be able to take a look at something and be like, for example, let's just say if you have a headache and take a look at, like, okay, ask your body, what's going on here?
Mhm.
Am I dehydrated? Did I
Mhm.
take on somebody else's energy? Is my nervous system off? Really ask yourself these questions before you run to the doctor or go and take, Tylenol or whatever.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
these are the things we need to ask ourselves.
And it could be any one of those things that you just
Could be
said, right?
anyone. Yep.
Right. Right.
Could be all three.
Right, right. So I think part of what you're saying is when you ask yourself, it's like, okay, take a look at what just happened. What, dehydrated, like, is that the situation? You know what I mean? Or did I just deal with somebody who had very intense energy and I took some of that energy on? You know what I mean? Like, that's a good, I guess, like you're saying, like, take notice of what happened. What's the
Be aware.
situation?
Be
Yeah,
aware.
be
Yeah.
be aware. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that is that's the basis for me of the spiritual community, right? Is not only to be aware, it's like awareness, accountability, and intention.
Yeah.
Those are the three things that you have control over, in any situation, right? And that you can now respond with. um, and again, like I said, I love the story of triumph when people are, diagnosed with an adverse situation, and then they use that to become the better version of themselves and say, okay, and that's what you've done. And then to take that to that next level of, okay, let's deliver this message, right? You have this message to deliver. So you came up with, I'm going to pop it up here. Where's my banners here? At the bottom here. So, and I'm going to pop up the screen here. You came up with this holistic human performance, which I love the name of that.
Thank
And
you.
and by the way, I was excited when I met you and I first saw you across the room. You reminded me of this girl I went to high school with, who went on to become an actress. And like, you just have this kind of like actress like look to you, like
Thanks.
you seem very, very well, like, because I think you have that balance, right? You have that healthy is important to you, fitness without the gym rat kind of over fitness thing, you know what I mean? It's a good
Yeah.
balance of everything, right? And just a smile is so important. I mean, look at that smile. I think that is related to intention. you know, and being aware of the energy that you're putting out, and not only putting out, you know, and I'm just kind of saying this, thinking out loud as I'm saying this, but like for me, you know, when I'm looking at that and I see that, I'm like, oh, that's great, it's perfect, it's intentional, but I also know how it feels to do it, right? So for me, it's not like, ooh, I want people to think something. It's like, I want to feel that. I want to set that intention of everything is great. I am happy. So I'm gonna smile and I'm gonna be happy. And there's so much energy to that. And I see that so much in kind of what you do, and the idea of balance. And I really think I could use your coaching, because for me, I you know, I find myself to be pretty grounded, a good guy, happy, mostly balanced, but I do not have the discipline for fitness. um, and I know that any sort of, I don't want to say lack. I'm always very intentional about my words, but
Mm.
you know, anything anywhere in my life where I feel imbalanced, right? Maybe I'm feeling tired, you know what I mean, or something like that. I know it's because of that. I say, okay, it's not my spirit, you know what I mean? It's not my mind, it's my body, you
And
know.
you know, like your body's telling you, like, hey,
Oh
we
yeah.
need to get a little moving a little bit. We need to get some
Oh
blood
yeah.
flow going.
Yeah, totally, totally. And I know, again, the same thing as saying I know what it feels like to smile and to put that intention in it. I know what it feels like to, like, I love yoga. I love doing it. I love how it feels. I love, you know, like that connection with my own body, right? When I'm even just a stretch, to stretch and to feel the energy coursing through the length of my arm or whatever I happen to be stretching and connecting to it. You know, I know how that feels, and I'm super guilty of it. You know, I get on that hamster wheel, you know, I have my own version of it, right? And then I kind of make excuses. And it's funny because Janice, the quiet healer, my partner, um she's started this accountability self-love course, and talks a lot about exactly all of the things that I'm guilty of. So I'm working on that stuff. I'm always
Yeah.
working on it. And you know, again, I think it comes back to awareness, intention, you know, and those things. So as long as we keep that kind of in check, I think we're
Yeah.
all right. But I could definitely use your help. You
Yeah, I
see,
got you. Definitely. You know where to
yeah.
find me.
And Ernest is saying, don't we all there?
Yeah.
Um,
Listen,
yeah.
it's I see this a lot. So like I get two different kinds of people. Those who are in the spiritual realm and they're too, they've understand energy, they understand their spirit and they understand on an energetic level, but they're too much in the 5D. They're too much up here.
Mhm,
And they're not understanding that we also live in the 3D realm. Not to say that you don't, but it's
mhm,
we're still
mhm.
grounded here on earth,
Yeah.
and we still also have laws of the universe, right? And we are in this physical vessel.
Mhm,
And what I want people to understand on that end of the spectrum is if you do not take care of this vessel, you will not be in it for the long run. You will not be able to do your work and hold space for other people. And
mhm,
it will hinder your gifts. It will hinder your spiritual gifts. Your pineal gland becomes calcified, your nervous system becomes dysregulated, your energy then becomes chaotic.
mhm,
When you're holding space for other people,
mhm,
you may be like zapped of your energy, like there are these things that happen that if you don't take care of this vessel, I see that happen on this side of the coin.
mhm,
Now, we go to the other side of the coin of people that I work with who are awake, who want to change their lifestyle to more of like a holistic approach, which is the interconnection of mind, body, soul. They're like, wow, there's a whole other world to live, but I don't know what to do and I don't know how to get there. That's
mhm,
where I come in. And
mhm,
this is where we start on the other spectrum of the foundations of wellness and
mhm,
health of, okay, are you moving your body? Okay, nutrition. Okay, what's your environment like? Are you eating your food in plastic and, your water? Okay, so we have that. And then I find when we go through this process of coaching, they get to this point and they're like, I'm feeling like these things happen and I'm having visions and I'm, because now we're cleansing out the body and their
Right.
spiritual gifts are being developed. So
Right.
now
Right.
then I take it and I go, okay, now we're going to train your intuition. We're going to train your spiritual muscle. So I hit it from both angles. I get the best of both worlds and bring them together and create this homeostasis. Specific for the individual because everybody's different, right?
Yeah.
There
Absolutely.
are specific basics and foundations to wellness that we just can't avoid. And I find a lot of people like that quick fix. They like the trendy, they like the 30-day programs and reset. I literally made a whole Instagram reel on this the other day. You cannot heal in the same environment you got sick in. It's just not possible. And so that's where we have to take accountability and create discipline and be able to, take a look. And we don't hit it from all angles, right? That's like why I'm here. That would be overwhelming. No, we don't do that.
Right.
Step at a time, and we build and we build and we build. And that's how you create a compounding effect. And you get to this point and you turn around and you're like, wow, I did that. Like, I feel so much better and I've accomplished and I'm on my soul's mission and purpose. And you can go on to do amazing things in this world.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's definitely, I don't even think, I know that's the issue, right? Is that we're not even taught that we have a soul's purpose and that we should pursue the things that make us happy. As a matter of fact, it's funny, it's almost a joke, right? Growing up as somebody who was interested in art and music, right? There were those cliches like, oh, you don't want to do that because there's no money in it and this and that. And, a lot of people end up suppressing those things and go in directions that they don't want to go in because that's what they're told. And so I think that we're definitely in a place where a lot of people don't realize these things, and thank God for the spiritual community, I feel like, because people are becoming aware of it. And there's definitely this balance that needs to be taught, or I don't know if it's taught, because I also feel like, we know everything. We just said, remember, we got to remember it. But I just feel like, I know for me, like, again, I feel like there's the things that I know I've got to work on. But I lost my train of thought. I just wanted to talk about where people are at. It's refreshing to me to be in the spiritual community and meet so many people who have these ideas, and I can see them influence other people, and I can watch them, just based on who they are and what they're doing, light up other people's brains, right? Oh, I see what they're doing. And that's really what I saw with you. So let's get back to holding space for you. So you wrote a book about your experience.
Yes.
I forget the name. I'm going to bring it up here.
A Survivor Story.
Yes, A Survivor Story. Here you go. Which you could get on Amazon and Barnes and Nobles. That's a great accomplishment. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And when did you write this book? When is this?
Yeah, so I published this in 2021, and this book was the catalyst to everything that I'm doing today. This is where it all started.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So this book, A Survivor Story, A Holistic Healing Journey Through Cancer, was something that came up in a really very low point in my life. Mm-hmm. So in 2020, when all hell broke loose in the world, and I was going for my annual oncology checkup, specifically for my thyroid, just like nonchalant once a year, making sure everything's good. And in this checkup, I noticed the nurse's face, and like, I didn't like what I was seeing, but she wasn't able to tell me because she wasn't the doctor. And I left that appointment sobbing, completely in tears, hyperventilating. I had a complete mental breakdown. And in my car, as I'm just absolutely breaking down, this sense of peace just washed over me. And this thought in my
Wow.
head, this download said, "You're going to write a book about this." And I was like, "What?" And so,
Wow.
yeah. And that's like kind of how it happened. I didn't take automatic action, but it helped to soothe me. I was like, okay, I
Mhm.
have some direction of where I'm going.
Mhm.
And mind you, before this, I was very immersed in the health, fitness, nutrition, sport performance realm. So
Right,
I was
right.
shifting communities, I was shifting my entire life, rebuilding from foundation up. And
Mm.
so at one point, and this goes back to your comment about like how controversial it is, I had applied for a speaking opportunity with a specific cancer nonprofit organization about holistic.
Oh, oh, you froze up there for a second. Hold on a second. I don't have you back quite yet. Oh, now I think
Can
I
you
have
hear
you
me?
back. Yep, you're back. Okay, you froze up. So you were talking about speaking, and then you
So
froze.
I applied for a speaking event for this cancer nonprofit organization to talk about holistic health and how I implemented and integrated it into my life and how much it helped.
Right.
And they did not like that. They
Mm.
denied it. And so I'm looking at the presentation that I had and I'm looking at the slides and I all of a sudden it was like, these are going to be the chapters of your book. And I was like,
Mm.
"Oh." And from that point on, like literally that moment, I opened up a Word document and I just started writing.
Wow.
And that's when I started to realize I have this gift of everyone does really. It's just a matter of how tapped in and what you're really meant to do here on earth. But I
Right.
have a gift of writing and specifically automatic writing.
Mm.
And so didn't know what that meant at the time. I had no idea that that was a thing. And so I wrote that book in like, I want to say like 3 months. And
No.
yes, I just made it once I have something on my mind and I have a goal, like I'm going after it.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
And it was just something on my heart and I did it. And then I said, what am I going to do with this body of work, this manuscript now? So I started looking up different publishing agencies and I found Balboa Press. And so I was able to publish the book through them. And after that, I still felt this pull of there's still more. There's
Mhm.
still more. And I was speaking to someone at the time. I was co-hosting a podcast and I was like, I think I need to start a business. Like, I don't know. I know I want to integrate like what I'm holistic health, energetics, and spirituality. I just don't know what to call it. She was like, what about human performance? And I was like, holistic human performance. And that is where it came to
Right.
be. And I literally created it on 2/22/2022.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Yeah.
There you go.
So it's
Nice.
been,
Yeah.
I just recently celebrated 3 years and it's grown into, again, something that we all have a spirit to the business. And I really leaned into that to help me on this entrepreneurship journey because it's personal development on crack. And,
Mhm,
it
mhm.
really tests you on a spiritual level as well. And so leaning into that and just kind of loosening the grip of what it's really meant to be. And it's still evolving and it's still growing, but
Sure.
it came to this point of now, coaching and healings. I recently just hired my first employee, my first coach that came
Nice.
on board. He's doing astrology readings.
Oh,
And it's
wow.
really just this beautiful community of people. I recently just launched the app, the Holistic Human Performance app. And it's just an easy, like, I want people to be able to integrate this into their lives, like to make it easy for people to just be able to create intentional, healthy, spiritual lives because
Mhm,
it
mhm.
can completely transform your life.
Yeah.
Is it easy? No.
Mhm.
But I
Yeah.
want to make the process easier for people. Is it
Totally.
simple? Yes. You just gotta,
Well, it's interesting. So you're bringing up a lot of things about things that I think about all the time, right?
yeah.
Some of them are controversial, right? And one of them is, and I'm just gonna go with it, right? One of them is the Industrial Revolution, and the idea that the Industrial Revolution is where we kind of took a turn
Yes.
away from ourselves, away from the connection that we have with the earth. You know what I mean? Understanding kind of accountability on a basic level. And I think that, again, I love that people are starting to become aware of that, because it is a happier way to exist. It is a more community way to exist. I love what you said about community, because that's what this is for me. You know, I've always been like a creative professional, like the intro says. I've been behind the scenes creating stuff, and I was never in front of the camera, and that just happened by accident. And I love the truth of this, the truth of having these discussions, the truth of having people out there receiving what it is that you're doing. You know what I mean? Because I believe strongly in that everything happens for a reason. So the people who are tuned in right now, you guys who are listening, you're here for a reason, and you're here because what we're talking about resonates with you. It makes you feel good. You want to hear more about it. You want to know more about it. I love bringing people like you onto the show, so that somebody who's out there, or myself maybe, can be like, ooh, I need to work with you. I need some tips, and I need some tricks, you know, on how to do the things that, for me particularly, I know that I need to do, right? But there are also people who don't know what they need to do. I need to know
Right.
what to do. There are people out there who need to know what to do, and so they see somebody like you who's got this energy to you, you know, because that is, I think, the key of what you're supposed to do on this earth, right? You're supposed to be who you are, and when you're authentic, I think you give off this energy that people are drawn to and say, ooh, I want that. I want to know how you're doing that. And I love that when they come to you and you say it, you say, oh, it's just really simple. You just
Let
gotta be
me teach
yourself,
you.
you know.
Yeah, because, well, here's the other thing, and we were talking about this off camera before. You know, you have these coaches, mentors, healers that aren't forthcoming
Mhm,
sometimes.
mhm,
And it's not a heavily regulated industry, to be honest with you. And you don't want to ever depend on your coach. Like, my goal is to help empower you, walk side by side with you, meet you where you're at, and get you to a point where you're off and you're able
yeah,
to take this information and you're
right.
able to apply it to your life, integrate it, and then also create generational health and wealth with that. So you can
Mhm,
teach that to your family, your future families. Like, that's what it's all about, and that's what creates this ripple effect, right? And
mhm,
so, I implore anyone who is looking for a coach, a mentor, healer, really, number one, use your intuition.
mhm.
If you get an off vibe from someone, you're probably right. Go
Yeah,
find someone else. You're probably
yeah.
right. Ask the right questions and, look at the testimonials. I did another reel on this. Look at the testimonials, look to see like what people are getting out of this individual. And again, if the coach, the mentor, the healer is someone who's like, you need me, and go find someone else, because that's not authentic, that's not real.
Right.
And it's probably like a gimmick, but I'm just saying.
Well, I always say that too. I think that it's unfortunate because people might give up, right? They might be, oh, this isn't for me. Reiki isn't for me, or meditation isn't for me. When it's like not really the case. It's just like that
That
guide,
individual, that person that you're
wasn't your conduit to it. You know what I mean? And I would say continue to pursue it, and find the things that feel right. And the key is learning to trust what you feel. Yeah.
yeah,
I totally agree with that. And I think we were talking about this earlier too. You were talking about like kind of this toxic positivity idea, right? That like,
yeah.
oh, spiritual bypassing, I think you were calling it,
I was,
where,
yeah.
oh, all you got to do is think positive and be positive. And I think that um I want to say yes, you do got to do that, but I think that there's a misunderstanding in interpreting that, and I think that that's kind of what the different people like might help, find the right person who gets that message across to you. Even so much so in, I don't know if I'm sure you've heard of The Secret, right? The book The
Yep.
Secret. And I think there's amazing wisdom in that book, or in that concept, but I also think that people walk away with that sometimes thinking, oh, I've just got to think, that I'm going to get this car, and they don't understand the dynamics of what that actually means, thinking that you're going to get the car. Like, there's more to it than just
Yeah.
just thinking it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
There's like dynamics about.
yeah, it's the accountability. You have to
Mhm.
take action. So it's not just like sitting in your room meditating all day. Like, that's not how it works. Obviously meditation and metaphysical is an aspect of it, but you also have to go out there and put yourself out there. That's why healing, that's why people are kind of like, oh, healing, I don't know, like I don't want to be in the feels, but
Mhm,
you know,
mhm.
in order to get to a point where Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about this, it's how we perceive ourselves to the world and who we actually are. And it's a gap. And the further apart that gap, the more work you got to do because that means you got a lot of masks on. You're not your authentic self. And I know this term is all over the place, but I want so when we talk about spiritual bypassing, it's really kind of just a term where it's everything's love and light. No, that's not the truth. You know, it's part of it, yes,
Mhm,
and this is
mhm,
where the
mhm,
term toxic positivity comes in, but
mhm,
you can't have light without darkness.
mhm,
And when yep, exactly, light with the dark, and
mhm.
you in those wounds, that's where the inner work comes in, and that's why
Yeah,
people get deterred. They're like, "No, I don't
right.
wanna open that can of worms." But
Yeah,
rip off the Band-Aid.
yeah.
Rip off the Band-Aid and, it might take you 15 minutes. It might take you 15 days. It
Mhm,
might take you a year, but again, it's like peeling back the layers, and once you get to the root, like what you were talking about, like a self-love kind of thing, which
mhm,
is really the energetic root to a lot of things,
mhm,
um,
mhm,
you're unstoppable at that point, and
mhm.
again, these things come up, and they're triggers for a reason, but we're not the thing is to not look at them in a negative light. Like, we are
Mhm.
spiritual beings having a human experience. That means
Yeah,
we're living here on earthly terms in the 3D, right?
that's
And
right. Yeah.
so there are universal laws, and the humanness, we have a variety, a plethora of emotions. And yes, some are low vibration, some are higher vibration. Okay,
Mhm,
that's fine. But
mhm,
it doesn't mean you're a bad person
mhm,
or
mhm,
feeling
mhm,
angry or feeling sad or feeling grief. Like, you can still be angry and still feel love in the same hour. You can, think of how many emotions you go through in one day. The thing is, you don't want to become the identity of that emotion. That's where the inner work comes in, because
mhm,
once that emotion takes control, that's where you become the identity of that emotion. And
mhm. Yeah.
that actually, so that becomes a personality trait. And
Mhm,
that is where the dis-ease comes into play.
mhm,
And again, that's if you're hanging in those lower vibration emotions. But just because, you're feeling like angry, sad, jealous, envious, that's okay. Like, cool. I
yeah,
honor you. Thank you,
yeah,
emotion, for
yeah, yeah.
showing me the medicine and what I need to work on, because that trigger is showing you the medicine, and you need to take accountability and acknowledge it and say, "Oh, okay, like, I'm not gonna suppress you. I
Right.
acknowledge
That's
you."
right. That's
And
right.
then this is where the tools come in, okay? So it's like, inside of my app, I have a breath work for anger, with
Mhm.
the sound healing, the meditation, tapping.
Right.
These are the tools where you ask yourself, or maybe you're going outside in the sunshine for a walk,
Mhm,
if you're
mhm.
feeling anxious.
Yeah,
So it's these things that you need to come back to yourself and say, "What do I need in this moment, in this time?" And the answer will come to you.
yeah,
You just have to listen to
yeah.
it. And so that's where I literally just recorded a whole podcast episode on this, and it's coming out tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
Yes, it's on Holistic Human Performance Podcast, and it's going to be called Spiritual Bypassing versus Authentic Healing.
Nice.
It's such a vast topic that, again, we're seeing this everywhere and I'm hearing it from clients who have worked with coaches, healers, mentors, and they're like, no, like, you shouldn't be feeling that way. Like, it's your emotions, you're feeling it for a reason. Honor it.
That's right. Yeah. You've got to process it. It, you know, it is unfortunate. And even it's funny because even those coaches, right? Like, I have compassion for them, right? Because a lot of times, and I notice this too, a lot of times is healers that have a lot to say and their words are super wise. I'm like, man, you're talking to yourself. Like, you're not hearing what you're saying. You know what I mean? Like, because they need the healing and they get it to some degree because they're able to say it, but they're not necessarily like I can tell, or
you're not walking the walk.
To me, it's evident, right, that there's it's that spiritual bypassing kind of like you're saying, right? Like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be smiling, you know, look, I'm happy, I'm smiling. You know, there's definitely more to it than that. And I was saying, yes, I love your tools. Emotions cannot be controlled. How you entertain them is key. That's right. Everything.
Yes, love that.
It's energy and it's got to be processed.
Energy in motion. That's what emotion is. Energy in motion.
I love it. Energy and motion. Totally. And Evelyn says, right, I feel that the counselors need the most therapy. Yes. but so even that, so I find I love this aspect of myself and people like you, because I can tell it's just like you almost, there's this instant compassion, right? Like, I don't think a lot of people can understand the idea if you say, oh, I can forgive Hitler.
Right.
That's a controversial thing to say right there, right? But like, what am I supposed to, am I gonna
carry that on with you?
Yeah, am I gonna hate this energy? Am I gonna like continue that energy by embracing the energy and you know, I want to process it and, you know, and give love and say, okay, well, something must have happened to that guy, you know what I mean? And that is a way for me to feel better and to give the situation love and not give the situation anger or fear, you know, to be able to process it. I'm still processing it, but I'm turning around, and I don't think that's toxic positivity. I think that's, you know,
it's healthy actually to process.
yeah, you know, and like you said, we're all human, and I think that's the big trick, especially for the spiritual community. I know for me, that's my kind of again, here I am trying to choose my words, right? I want to say battle, but like, you know, that's my daily adventure. Is knowing that I'm an energetic being, right? And that there's so much more out there than this 3D experience and this moment that I'm having. But the point of this moment is to have it and to enjoy it and to be in it. And to just kind of remember that all the time. It's tough.
I mean, listen, it's not, again, you'll hear this term too a lot in the spiritual community of like, oh, like when you follow your soul's purpose, it's so easy. No, it's not. And you're lying. It's not easy. Okay.
But you are happier, I think.
But you're happier.
Yeah,
you are happier.
So it feels easier.
You are happier. You've never felt more fulfilled or authentic in your life. And now you have the tools to navigate these hard lessons better than you did before. And that is where the lessons learned come in. And you're like, oh, okay, old me would have totally lost it. But now I have the tools. So, because life is always going to keep on lifing and things are going to come up, you know, it's inevitable. And it's just like, how are you going to be able to handle it? How are you going to, instead of react, are you going to respond instead? And this is where, you know, the emotions come in and the emotional mastery. And when you do, and I'm going to be talking about this at the Soul Conference.
Cool.
I'm going to talk about following your soul pull. It's not easy, and it can be challenging, but it feels so good at the same time.
Yeah, yeah. Totally, totally. I get that. And a great question, Eveline is saying, oh, sometimes I'm clicking, it doesn't come up. I'm sorry to sound ignorant, but I've heard the terminology of spiritual bypassing before, but what exactly does it mean? So we kind of talked about it, but how would you define it?
Yeah, so it basically means that you are bypassing your own emotions and your own emotional needs, and trying to stuff them down and suppress them and say to yourself, yes, everything's cool, everything's great, I'm supposed to be smiling, I'm supposed to be happy, everything's love and light. And you're just suppressing the harder emotions down because you think that that's what you're supposed to be doing, because this
Mhm,
is what you've been told,
mhm,
by the spiritual community, of everything's supposed to be love and light. You're not supposed to react this way. You're
mhm,
not supposed to be angry. And what ends up happening is you become dissociated,
mhm.
from your emotions in general. And we don't want that, because, again,
Right.
that's where dis-ease comes in.
Right, right. I always kind of use the example of traffic, right? People say, "Oh, somebody cut you off in traffic," and then you kind of, "Oh, that bastard." You get all emotional, you react. But then again, for me, it's easy and it can happen very quickly in a moment to be like, "Oh, what if that person is in a rush to the hospital for
I
some reason?"
always
Or
say that to myself.
like, just like, flip it around and don't the world is not about you and your moment. The world is a big moment and everybody's involved in it. And I think if we all take on that perspective of, okay, we're all navigating this moment, and if I'm walking this way and you're walking this way, and we're going to cross paths, we've got to navigate that moment together. You know what I mean? Not like, be like, well, you get out of my way. You know what I mean? Like, navigate the moment together. We're all in this together. As simple as that. A simple thing
Yeah.
is crossing paths, and walking. And I think that, um, thankfully, like I said, that I feel like there are people who are opening their hearts to exist, that way. And luckily, being the spiritual guy that I am, I'm finding those people and hanging around with them much more often than being in public with people who aren't thinking that way.
Yeah, you're
But
attracting it when
yeah,
in
yeah,
your essence, you're magnetizing those types of people to you.
yeah.
I remember when I made it a goal of mine when I first started to enter into this community. I was like, I'm gonna really immerse myself and get in close proximity with these people who are like-minded, soul tribe
Mhm,
communities, soulmate clients. And that's exactly what I did. And when you
mhm,
set that intention, that's what ends up
mhm,
happening. And like you said, that energy, that essence, like
mhm,
when you walk into a room,
mhm.
your essence and your energy is the first that's talking, not your
Yeah,
actual
that's right.
words.
That's
Your
right.
essence is coming in first. You're either going to deter people or you're going to attract those people.
That's right, man. And it's such a powerful knowledge. It's such powerful knowledge to have, right? Because you could think, oh, Eveline says, I used to do that before with food. Thank you, I totally appreciate this conversation. I started dealing with my baggage. PS, I'm no longer overweight either. Woohoo. Awesome. I love
Congratulations.
that. Congratulations. Yes. And I was actually thinking that earlier. I was thinking about, like, the spiritual community, is about that balance. And I do feel like there probably are more people, not necessarily fitness, like buffs or people who are into fitness, but there's not a lot of, like, necessarily like overweight or unhealthy people in the spiritual community, because they've dealt with that dis-ease, they've dealt with those things, you know what I mean? You know, again, I'm just
Uh,
talking.
I don't know.
No,
I've seen. I think maybe because I'm attracting those people to, like, based on what I do for a living, like maybe
right.
I'm just seeing that more frequently. I think that sometimes what happens is we can get so caught up on solely the energy of things, and like you said, it's like we're not consistent and disciplined in choosing the right way to move our bodies and what's best for our energy and food wise too. So I see a lot of like spiritual entrepreneurs and wellness entrepreneurs, ironically enough, like if they're super busy with business, like they're not making the best choices when it comes to their
Mhm,
health.
mhm,
And
mhm,
so again, maybe I'm just attracting that into my world because that's what I
mhm,
do.
mhm,
But
mhm.
I
Right,
think that
they're supposed to see
yeah,
you and learn from you. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I think that's yeah, no, and I do see that. Yes, you're right. I definitely do see that. But I just feel like I guess what I'm talking about is the thing that attracts me is the positive energy.
yeah.
Again, not the toxic part of it
No, like
or that's what it's all
the
about, but the
authenticity,
authentic part of it. Yes,
the
yes, the
soul
authentic part.
essence,
Yes.
purity of that
Yeah.
person's energy. Yeah.
Right, right. When you know someone has really truly um understood love, right? And they're like, "Oh, I get this. I get what it's all about and this is where I want to be." They want to be in that vibration.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know that's terminology in the community, right? Raise the vibration and all these things, but it does start to make sense once you start to learn about it and connect it all. Um so I just happened to glance at the clock. We're already in an hour. I can't even believe it.
Wow, that flew by.
I love talking about this stuff, and you're great to talk to. Let's just drop a little shout out again to for the Soul Conference, the Soul Care Conference, and remind us what you're going to be talking about on at that conference. I'm going to bring up the graphic while you're talking about it.
Yeah, so it is April 27th. It'll be a half a day event on Long Island. And I'm going to be discussing the topic of following your soul pull and how it can drastically change your life. I'll share my story and some tips, tricks, and some wisdom on how you can do that and navigate following your soul's
Awesome.
path. Because I know it, again, a lot of it does have to do with being able to let go of the old identity of you and what you went through. And that really can be a struggle for a lot of people. Um, and so my goal is to help everybody know that you have the option to either survive or thrive, and it's your
Mhm.
choice of how you want to live your life. And I know I have been in survival mode before for a very long time, and once I
Yeah.
found that, oh, it doesn't need to be this way. Okay, I can thrive and do what I love and add value and make money, like awesome, and be healthy. Okay, so that is what I'm going to be talking about.
Awesome. I can't wait. That's going to be such a great day. And as you were saying that tips, tricks, and wisdom, I was thinking I had this weird vision in my head. Okay, so you remember like baseball cards, right? And like little card games and things. You're supposed to collect the cards. I feel like if we would all just walk around with our deck of tips, tricks, and wisdom
Yeah.
and just exchange the cards with each other and be like, oh, you need this one, and just like, kind of share, this world would be such an amazing, bright place. And you know what? I'm not even going to say it would be. I'm going to say it is going to be. I feel like that's where we're heading. I feel like that's what this past hour was about. Holding up our cards, showing everybody our cards for anybody who needs them. So I appreciate you being here, Crystal. Oh, thank you. I needed to hear this. Kelly Brickle. So Kelly Brickle, I just want to thank Kelly. She is the producer from the Sacred Spiral Network who put this all together. And
Thank you.
she's an amazing, amazing soul. There's so many shows on the Sacred Spiral Network, different psychic hours and astrology hours, and very, very cool stuff. Angelo, who I was mentioning earlier, who likes to read my guests, is asking you if you want to write a book. Now, we already spoke about the book that you wrote.
I have another book in the
There's
works.
another book coming, I was going to say.
It's
Uh,
going to be my fourth book.
Fourth
It's
book. Awesome.
already funny you say that because I was thinking about it today.
There you go. That's very funny. Cool idea, Michael. Thank you, Eveline. Well, I gotta have you back. Maybe I'll have you on the live stream of consciousness. I
Yeah,
love talking.
that'd
I
be
love
so
talking.
fun.
This was a lot of fun. And I want to put you in the green room. I don't want you to go away because I want to talk to you about maybe
Sure.
bartering or using your services or somehow helping to get to my true self. I think I'm there, but it doesn't hurt to, like I said, to like let's look at our puzzle pieces. Let's hold them up and see what you got, see what I got. We'll look
Sure.
at each other's hand. But thank you so much for being here, and hopefully we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
All right, I'm going to put you in the green room. Awesome. Oh my goodness, I feel like I've built up so much energy. I've got to let it all out. Where's my bowl? My bowl's over here, and my little thing. Let's close out the space. I do have an amazing guest from the Sacred Spiral Network community. Nancy Muratala is going to be my guest on the live stream of consciousness. She's a very cool psychic medium. And then the next week, I think, I'm not sure who I've got coming up, and I've actually been thinking about taking a break, but we'll talk about that. If I take a break, I'll let you guys know, and it will just be a break to take care of myself. And I just want to close out the space with the bull here. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you, everybody, for showing up and bringing your energy. And thank you, Gena, so much for being here. We'll talk to you guys soon. Awesome. We'll see you guys next week.